In at 10, FNAF 3 Springtrap. It's pretty universally known that FNAF 3 is one of the easier FNAF games. With only one animatronic that can actually kill you, you can juggle him between a couple rooms for basically the whole night. You're able to survive fairly easily. But while some consider this game scary, overall it's one of the least scary of all, and that's thanks to Springtrap. Springtrap's jump scare in this game is actually the worst jump scare in the series, having the only real scare factor being the sound that plays along with it. But as for the actual model, he just kinda moves towards you a little bit, and that's it. There was also apparently an interview where Scott said that he was going to end the series after game 3, but the community's disappointment with the Springtrap jump scare caused him to make the 4th game with the Nightmare animatronics. I'm unable to find that interview, but that also makes sense to me. Like, the Nightmare animatronics were sort of overcorrecting for the lack of scares in FNAF 3, since you could also easily predict the phantom jump scares. So I can see it. And at 9, Sister Location. While William wasn't really in Sister Location as one of the enemies, because you know, all those fused into Ennard, he was still in it during the final cutscene, where Michael is giving his final speech, saying, "Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all here. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now, but something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in the shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you." After that final line, Springtrap jumps out from behind the ruins of Fazbear's Fright, which burnt down at the end of FNAF 3. This is less of a jump scare, more of a way to show that Springtrap and by proxy William are still alive. However, it's still scarier than the normal Springtrap jump scare if you weren't ready for it or knew that it was coming. In at 8, Scrap Trap. See, this one is a bit of a weird one because, well, like, you can decide if it's possible or not. Since you don't really have to salvage an animatronic, you can just leave it for scrap and not keep it inside the building, thus allowing yourself not to have to stress over a psychotic killer rabbit, which is my personal recommendation. However, if you make the fool's decision and trap Scrap Trap, you have the possibility of being jump scared, which usually would only happen when you're not focused on protecting yourself. So, mostly when you're worried about your pizzeria or completing the tasks you need to do in order to leave and to complete the day. But this one is more unexpected, and Scrap Trap is certainly freakier than Springtrap is. And this jump scare is actually more like a jump scare than the Springtrap one, so needless to say, it deserves to be higher. Well, higher than those. However, there are scarier jump scares despite this. And at 7, VR Springtrap. FNAF VR may be one of the more recent games in the series, but it certainly is one of the freakiest. VR horror is such an experience, okay? But combine that with the story of Five Nights at Freddy's and you get one hell of a game. And while Springtrap's jump scare in normal FNAF 3 may not be scary, having to deal with this guy up close and personal and literally towering above you will have you changing your attitude and your pants on a regular basis. Since this time, when jump scaring you, he pops up from the bottom of your screen and shaking his face at you as much as humanly possible before he actually causes you to lose the game. Speaking of which, I lost the game. I personally believe that all the jump scares are scarier in FNAF VR, not to mention how everything is scarier when it's towering over you, because in that case it appears to have more power and be more powerful, and let's be honest, Springtrap's design kinda needs that to be scary. I don't know, I don't think that the actual character is scary, but his story is certainly scary, but not really him. It's confusing. And at 6, Glamrock Freddy. During Security Breach's final boss fight, Freddy is hacked by Burntrap and will stand in the center of the room as a hazard. If Burntrap ends up successfully hacking him, he will kill Gregory, either by chasing him down or by pulling Gregory out of his stomach if the player had entered beforehand. Gregory can still lure Freddy away by calling him over to different spots though. And since his eyes turn purple after William possesses him or hacks him or whatever, okay? Possessed Glamrock Freddy is a version of Afton, so it's good enough for me. This is mostly scary because from what I've seen, people are often confused as to why Freddy is suddenly running at them and don't know enough about the series to hide from anything purple. So they get jump scared, flip out, and then realize that Afton got to him. So yeah, the fact that we can trust Freddy this whole game is kind of what makes this jump scare so brutal, but it's still not the worst one out there. Halfway through in at number 5, Vanny. Vanny is a follower of the digital virus Glitch Trap, a form of the serial killer William Afton, and appears as the main antagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. It's revealed in the Princess Quest minigames that she was also the main protagonist of FNAF Help Wanted, where she was first corrupted by the sentient code being thing. So technically, since Vanny is the part of Vanessa that is controlled by William, this makes her jump scare William have to jump scare. Vanny is shown to have a sadistic personality hidden behind a childlike flamboyance. This is shown through her casually and gleefully skipping after Gregory as he runs from her before running with arms outstretched if she gets too close. She also happily orders the staff bots to disassemble Glamrock Freddy in the phaser blast ending, and constantly laughs as she's going to kill Gregory. If she ever does catch Gregory though, which can happen unexpectedly at times, especially at certain points throughout the story, it can give you quite the fright. It's better than our trailer jump scare, since in that first trailer we couldn't really see anything, but not the scariest thing in the world. Mostly because you can see it coming for the most part, but there are a good few moments with her. Like when timers run out and stuff and she jump scares you. Those are good. But like the CRT effect kind of lets you know when she's coming. In at 4, desk scrap trap. Salvaging is a major method first used in FNAF Pizzeria Simulator. It is an optional section that occurs on each of the 4 nights starting on Monday after the management phase. As Henry says during each salvage, each animatronic was found in the back alley. After he explains what options are open to the player, they can either proceed with the salvage or throw it back into the alley. If the player decides to salvage the animatronic, the salvaging section begins immediately. This process is simple. Henry will play 1 out of 5 audio prompts through the tape, and the player must check on the responses on the form itself based on whether or not the animatronic actually responded to the stimuli, when in reality they're just reacting to you not looking at them. This sequence, should you look away for too long or at the wrong time, will result in a jump scare, but the desk jump scares, in my personal opinion, are pretty damn freaky, especially scrap traps, because like this clearly isn't his first rodeo, but like just man, I don't know what it is about someone coming over a desk to kill me. I just don't like it. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, the Curse. The Curse is an Aztec-themed skin for the Springtrap animatronic and was released on March 5th in the Ancient Equinox event, and is the 4th skin for Springtrap in FNAF AR. The Curse is a teal-colored Springtrap dressed to look like an ancient Aztec warrior, and he has a large feathered crown and a golden chest piece. His hands are colored orange with sharp black claws, and one of them holds like a large golden shield. Finally, he is also decorated on the head with like 2 large feathers, which is kind of weird, but I dig it. This guy looks like he's actually decaying as well, which is certainly a better spin on things since decaying bodies aren't purple, even though the series seems to try and push that idea. Bruises are purple, okay? Decay is more commonly depicted as green, or at least in other media. In real life it's not. Much how like Springtrap's suit in his curse form is dark green. This also could be a subtle reference to the fact that Afton is a curse on these games, being unable to ever get rid of him in any meaningful way, or maybe it's just about Glitch Trap and the Curse of Dreadbear DLC. Who knows? I do. I know. He is a curse on this series and my life and needs to die permanently, okay? Not to mention that just in general, Springtrap looks creepier in FNAF AR than FNAF 3 or FNAF VR, okay? Check out the wiki and then look at his pictures, okay? The FNAF VR and then FNAF AR. FNAF AR is horrifying. Penultimately, in at number 2, Flaming Springtrap. Flaming Springtrap was added during the Sizzling Summer event for FNAF AR and was understandably the final skin to be added in that update. Being Springtrap's second skin behind Toxic Springtrap, we weren't quite sure what to expect. But like, have you ever wondered what Springtrap looked like during the fire in FNAF 3? Or wondered what it was like in my old apartment? This is what it would feel like. This also answers the original question because he is definitely the kind of person to absorb all the flames and then use them to his advantage. Flaming Springtrap is a coal-colored Springtrap with dark orange highlights, and he is glowing orange from his endoskeleton since it's so hot, because you know he's flaming. He has flames spouting out of every open area possible, and you know what, honestly, who is ready for the 1000 degree endoskeleton challenge? Cause I am. His hands and feet are on fire the most, and for some reason he has no upper teeth. This is horrifying, okay? Especially if these are supposed to be real animatronics that Fazbear Entertainment is sending to people's homes. And my building thinks that my power block or power bar is a fire hazard. It's so befuddling to me how these are actually supposed to be real animatronics, okay? That's horrific. And the skins are canon, as we see in Fury's Rage, which is surely just one of the Security Breach arcade games. And finally, in at number 1, Garvey. A psychopathic, cold-blooded killer, he stopped being human long ago. That's how Garvey is described in the extras of Dormitibus, the FNAF fan game from which he hails. Garvey is the penultimate antagonist to Dormitibus. He later went on to get trapped in Spring Bonnie, becoming Springtrap, and then he was burned to a permanent death in the Fazbear Fright's fire. Garvey is a more gory version of Springtrap from FNAF 3. However, it is not William Afton, as this game was released before the name was revealed, and even before FNAF 4. Springtrap, but with hardly any exosuit or animatronic casing, whatever you want to call it, and this is him, okay? He crawls on all fours and uses his left hand as a foot and his left foot as a hand, like some demon monkey from hell that Satan didn't sanction the creation of. Like, just look at this thing and tell me that it shouldn't be on this list, okay? If you do, you'll be lying. I don't care if it's a fan game. This is the scariest version of William Afton we have ever gotten. And at 10, Plush Trap. Technically, in a sense, Plush Trap is just a small version of Springtrap, right? I mean, like, if you think about it, if you shrunk Springtrap down and made him like Scrappy-Doo proportions, you'd have Plush Trap. So the Plush Trap jump scare from the Fun with Plush Trap minigame counts as William Afton, at least enough to be number 10. I mean, a kid in FNAF 4 even says, "Where's your plush toy? Mine is Spring Bonnie. My daddy says I need to be careful with him or will pinch my finger. He's a finger trap," he says. So that's good enough for me. He is a nightmarish variant of the Spring Bonnie plush toy, who first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 as the main antagonist of his own minigame Fun with Plush Trap. Plush Trap is a smaller plush version of Spring Bonnie. He is similar in design to Springtrap, albeit much more cartoonish and less damaged, and he also seems to be less menacing in appearance than most other nightmare animatronics. But that doesn't stop his jump scare from still getting you, okay? Because even enough to cause Eddie VR to flip out multiple times. That was funny though. In at 9, PowerPoint Springtrap. This game, called FNAF 3 PowerPoint Edition, is a game that from the description was made in PowerPoint. This FNAF game was made in PowerPoint. How the ever-loving hell does that work? Like, how do you make a FNAF game in PowerPoint? Imagine that's how Scott released the first game, just like a frickin' PowerPoint file. That would have been insane. This is very simply a click a couple of times again and then get jump scared kind of thing. At least this jump scare is scarier than the original FNAF 3 jump scare. This is wrong, and it feels incorrect. It feels like a sin on so many levels to play it or even have it downloaded, okay? I thought that the whole PowerPoint thing was a joke, but no, it's literally a PowerPoint file that you click through. So this jump scare is scary because it's bad. And the only reason it's not number 10 is because of Plush Trap. This is just wrong. Like, why would you do this? The jump scare is also unavoidable, actually. You can't win this version. And apparently, from what I was looking at, these PowerPoints are a series of games. In at 8, Ultimate Custom Night Scrap Trap. Scrap Trap, formerly known as William Afton, is a bipedal green-colored animatronic with his human corpse trapped inside, although it's not actually a corpse, although the wiki calls it a corpse. The wikis need to be updated. William wasn't dead at this point, okay? The suit's head is heavily damaged and reveals a yellowish color underneath, which may be part of his skin, maybe the suit. We aren't entirely sure, although it might also be just bone. There are also gray and red wires that connect his skin to his suit. He has gray robotic eyes and 2 teeth resembling a cartoon rabbit, with smaller, sharper teeth lining his bottom jaw. His right arm lacks a hand, resembling a broken bone, and there are multiple bone-like claws on his left hand. In Ultimate Custom Night, Afton only appears once per night, and there is a chance that he won't appear at all. When he does appear, however, the office lights will flicker and a loud clamoring noise will come from the right vent before attacking. The player must quickly close the right vent door to block him, and he will not appear for the rest of the night if you do it correctly. But if you don't, Scrap Trap's jump scare is one of the few animated ones in this game, making it scarier than someone like Nightmare Balloon Boy, who only has an image that moves around. You really cheaped out on the jump scares in this game, Scott, just saying. In at 7, Clown Springtrap. Clown Springtrap is Springtrap's third skin, and the third skin overall to be introduced into the Dark Circus event of FNAF AR. Clown Springtrap has a pale white suit with blue and purple makeup above his eyes. He also has messy purple hair coming out of his head, obviously, and large red lipstick as well, because he's a clown. Clown Springtrap's body is mostly covered by a large suit with ripped up black pants and a black shirt, along with a red and purple vest. He features large red clown shoes along with a large red bow tie and flowers on his chest. His right eyelid has also been stitched up for some reason. Finally, he carries around a very large red mallet in his left hand, a la Harley Quinn. And considering how clowns are one of the most common fears, with more people in the United States being scared of clowns than global warming, I think putting Clown Springtrap on this list where he's intentionally jump scaring you in your own home is definitely understandable. And at 6, Insane Spring Bonnie. Insane Spring Bonnie is a nightmarish depiction of Spring Bonnie from the Five Nights at Freddy series. Well, not Insane Spring Bonnie isn't from the FNAF series, but Spring Bonnie is, and it's based off Spring Bonnie. That's what I meant. Insane Spring Bonnie bears a huge resemblance to the Springtrap from FNAF 3. He is a greenish yellow with many rips and tears, and Insane Spring Bonnie, similar to the other animatronics, has 2 rows of sharp teeth and steel claws. The front of his chest is torn open, exposing the endoskeleton within him alongside his legs. He is also missing half of his right ear. Insane Spring Bonnie starts moving around at night 3. Insane Spring Bonnie looks strongly like Springtrap from FNAF 3, so that makes sense since Springtrap is like the Spring Bonnie suit. But Insane Spring Bonnie was not planned by the developers of the fan game it's a part of until later in development. This is all coming from what I read on the URL, the FNAF fan game wiki, and it didn't actually list the game that the Insane Spring Bonnie was a part of, which is kind of an oversight on their part. But I mean, like, if you know, let me know in the comments. This thing looks horrifying though. Insane Bonnie comes from Final Nights 4, but I don't know if Insane Spring Bonnie is something else or not. I think it's from a game called Insanity, but I also could be wrong. Let me know if you know. Let me know. Halfway through into number 5, Sinister Springtrap. Sinister Springtrap used to be an upcoming antagonist in Sinister Turmoil, a cancelled fan game. He looks like original Springtrap, being dirty colored with hanging wires from his head, and only 2 differences that our purple guy's corpse head is clearly visible this time, and because you know he's a sinister, he has long sharp teeth going on. Currently he's not in the game, but he was planned on being in the full game and possibly in the demo. However, like I said, the game was in fact cancelled. And this guy is scary for the reason any of the other Sinister characters are scary. This time around, he just doesn't really have a jump scare, hence why I'm putting him at number 5, because like he doesn't really have an official one, like from Sinister Turmoil, but there are plenty of fan-made jump scares for this fan-made character from a fan game, which is a whole other level of meta that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to try thinking about that today. So since this is such a technicality, it gets the middle spot so everyone is happy, okay? Now since I put him at number 5, watch me wake up to Springtrap, to like Sinister Springtrap jump scaring me. It's like, you like this? You're looking for these? It's late in the day if you can't tell. In at 4, AR Springtrap. In FNAF Special Delivery, Springtrap will haywire frequently. This can lead to a haywire chain where Springtrap will haywire up to like 5 times back to back. But to avoid a jump scare, the player must stare at him when his eyes are white and then look away when they turn red. Springtrap will taunt the player throughout his attack as well, occasionally fake charging. When Springtrap materializes during his charge, the player must quickly shock him or they will be jump scared. It is also possible to obtain a Springtrap plush suit, which can be placed on an endoskeleton, and said endoskeleton can then be salvaged for parts, or sent to attack other players with Springtrap's appearance. Yeah. That's messed up. The Springtrap animatronic in this game is creepier than the original counterpart since it's just a recreation. However, the fact that it's a recreation of the killer and right in your face on your phone makes it deserving of the number 4 spot in my opinion. I still don't know why Fazbear Entertainment thinks that it's a good idea for this. Like, why? I feel like everyone knows that Springtrap's the bad guy, but they're like, oh yeah, here's one for your home. You get a Springtrap, you get a Springtrap, everyone gets a homicidal maniac! Getting close to the end in at number 3, Ignited Springtrap. Ignited Springtrap is the main and only antagonist to the Joy of Creation Halloween edition. Ignited Springtrap is a more decayed and damaged version of Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He doesn't have the suit's lower jaw, revealing William Afton's lower jaw. His eyes closely resemble the Phantom animatronics from FNAF 3, with the exception of them being orange-ish instead of white, and he seems to have a darker green costume, possibly due to the last sighting. He also looks fairly similar to Burntrap, so much so that I mistaked his jump scare that I saw separately from the Ignited Springtrap name for a Burntrap character in a fan game, so it was going to be on the list twice. He looks so close to Burntrap, it's actually kinda insane. His upper right arm, left forearm, and right shin lack their suit casing, and there is a massive rip in his chest, exposing Afton's innards instead of innards. Get it? His ears aren't damaged any further than they were in FNAF 3, but most of his body is exposed with little pieces of the suit being visible. And during his jump scare in this game, he actually kicks you into a fire, and then he pins you to the ground and then just kills you unless you try to push him out, but then you move his suit. Just watch the clip. Penultimately, in at number 2, Reaper Springtrap. Reaper Spring Bonnie is one of the Reaper antagonists in Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. He is referred to by the Fredbear plush as my friend, possibly because the original Fredbear entertained alongside Spring Bonnie, so they're friends that way, not like cohorting, I think, hopefully. But like the others in Final Nights 3, he's a Reaper animatronic. Reaper Spring Bonnie returns in the 4th and final game of the series, Final Nights 4 Fates Entwined as well, where he just looks absolutely terrifying. In Final Nights 4, Reaper Spring Bonnie, referred to in the museum as just Reaper Bonnie, appears in Investigation 4. He, along with Reaper Balloon Boy, Reaper Puppet, Reaper Mangle, and Reaper Golden Freddy, attack Max Donovan in the hospital bedroom. His behavior is the same as in Final Nights 3. The player will hear him moan like some weird person in my DMs, and they will have to run up to the door and use the flashlight to scare him away. He also looks way more terrifying in Final Nights 4 than he did in 3. Not only does he have one jump scare as well, he also has two. One at the door and one for if he gets into the room. Both are horrifying, but the door scare just seems more expected to me because like you would see him walking into the room, therefore more terrifying than if he actually gets into the room. However, if I was really strapped, I could have used both jump scares for numbers, just saying. And finally, in at number 1, Nightmare Springtrap. A mod for FNAF 4, Nightmare Springtrap is a nightmare animatronic that bears a resemblance to Nightmare Fredbear or Nightmare Freddy, as he's known throughout the community. I mean, like Nightmare Fredbear, Nightmare Freddy, they're two different things in my opinion. Nightmare Springtrap, though, only appears on night 8, the challenge night. And upon completion of the night, the player will unlock a 4th star and plush versions of Chica, Bonnie, Spring Bonnie, and Fredbear for the player's bedroom. Many of the plushes will be scattered around the room in different places, such as on the floor and along the top of dressers and stuff, but the player is able to see Nightmare Springtrap once before it enters the room. If you do see it, that counter resets, giving the player one more chance to complete the night. Once Nightmare Springtrap is activated by this, the other animatronics, including Fredbear, will then be deactivated for the rest of the challenge night, leaving the player to only try and outwit Nightmare Springtrap alone. Nightmare Springtrap very rarely enters the closet or appears on the player's bed, but the player will be able to detect his movements based on the moaning sounds he makes. I don't know why everyone makes Springtrap moan. It's kinda creepy and a big red flag if you ask me.